All right, I think we're good now. Welcome to the show. It wouldn't be a show if I didn't mess something up. Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Welcome back to the Ask Airsoftology show, where I need to ask someone how to set up my live stream because I don't even know what's going on. Been chatting with you all in chat before we got going. We always do like the countdown before we get started here, and I want to say goodnight, Ferret, because he jumped on for like just a couple seconds, or they jumped on just to say hi and out. What did I do to my chat box? What is wrong with that? What is going on with my stuff? My chat box is shrunk. Anyway, chat box is small. We'll deal with it. All right, so we got a lot of topics today. So if you guys and gals, if it's your first time here, this is the second edition of the Ask Airsoftology live stream. So what we're doing is we'll be talking, chatting, having a good time, discussing last week's show, kind of bringing it up, answering any questions you have in chat. Just kind of drop them in. I'm already seeing a bunch of them stack up. We got some good topics today. It looks like the C21 bill going on in Canada. I do want to discuss that because that's kind of a hot topic for Airsoft. If you're not aware, even though it's Canadian, it does impact all of us. And then also we're going to be talking a little bit about, looks like we got some more carryover from last week about speed sim type feelings or speed soft. And then we'll be filming the actual Q&A segment where I'll pull a couple questions from here. I've already pulled a few from last week's Q&A. If you guys don't know, we do the live stream here, and then on Monday morning, kind of like the old Q&A used to be, I drop the actual recorded segment that we're going to be recording. So we'll be doing the live recording here and then dropping it in next week if you want to see what happens after I edit that thing down from like 25 minutes to about 12. But yeah, that's kind of what we do. And today I got a couple quick housekeeping announcements. First off, today's show will be, I got a hard stop at 11 a.m. my time, which is about an hour and a half from now. So this will run about an hour and a half. We'll get the live stream part probably in about 45 minutes to an hour done. And in the last 30-ish or so minutes, I'll be recording the Q&A, and then we'll kind of wrap up after that. Also, next week, programming change, I will be doing the show. I've got a very important life event, and I will be having to move the show up one day. So we actually be, instead of today, which normally we do on, well, it's my Wednesday or my Thursday morning, your Wednesday night, depending on where you guys are. I will be moving this to Tuesday, one day sooner. So I'll make announcements all over the chat. But if you guys have notifications turned on, if you haven't done it, hit the notification bell. You'll know the live stream's going live. Same time, just one day earlier. So, all right, let's see. I don't know why my chat box is all messed up. I made a new scene so I could actually show you guys some websites and stuff at the same time. And I think it just messed up the way the chat box is laid out. All right, let's see what's going on in chat right now. Thank God that I'm not muted anymore. And let me turn off the audio, the music, because I don't think we want music in the stream. All right, let me go here. All right, so let me catch back up. First off, this week, I want to say hi to everybody. Got a lot of Tennessee guys in here, which is good. But I was talking to Brian, and this might be one to talk about the C21 bill. Also, before we get going, we are definitely going to be talking about the new Krytac pistol drop. If you guys saw this, Krytac, out of typical Krytac, right? These guys are like super quiet. They don't announce anything. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like boom, P90, right? And this week it was boom, the Maxim 9, which is crazy because they've never done a pistol before. So we'll talk about that. I'm really interested in that one. I'm in the works. I should have one in my hands within a week or less. So I'll be actually doing a full on like proper review. Should be one of the first reviews out there of an actual production version. So I'll get in there, tear it apart. I'm super curious because I'm gonna be extra critical on this one because Krytac has never made a pistol. I mean, we know their AEGs are, perfect. Like those guys you can just blind buy one of their AEGs. But considering it's their first dip into the pistol world, or the GBB, especially pistols, I'm curious of what they're going to be doing. I mean, knowing it's Krytac, I doubt they're going to release something that's half-baked, but I really want to look. All right, so let's see. Let's go talk about, real quick, C21. So I was talking in chat. Brian was mentioning this, and he says, hey, I'm from Canada. I'm like, oh, man, how's C21 going up there? And then we're also talking more, Airsoft CA jumps in regarding C21. And Brian says actually going well at the moment. And of course, with politics, things change all the time. I said petitions galore, but the government doesn't want to listen or take interest, that they will put our sport out of business. You know, he's talked with two MPs, and that's members of parliament. What MP is, not military police. And I know Dayton with House Gamers has been like absolutely leading the charge for trying to get things moved up there. So if you don't know, the nutshell version of C21 is it puts a lot of restrictions on the firearm industry, but at the same time, it takes absolute shots at paintball and at airsoft squarely. I mean, to the point where if it passes as it was proposed, it would be 100% dead. The industry's gone. You can't have them. You can't use them. You can't go to a field. You can't buy them. You can't own them. Not, I mean, gone, 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 gone. So that's a really major deal. Like to have an entire country have airsoft wiped off the map, and that's scary. So I'm looking here at what in chat Airsoft CA says regarding a C21. The ASIC, which is Airsoft in Canada, which is a lobbying group, has had various meetings with the SECU, and tons of good progress is being made. So that's positive. And like I said, Brian said the petitions galore going out. It seems like things are moving somewhat positive. I have talked to some American companies that do distribute up into Canada, specifically like major distributors. And they are all working as well behind the scenes. You may or may not know. People who are part of the lobbying process might know, but they are working very closely to get lobbying done and working with the members of parliament so this industry isn't shut down. Now, they're doing it from a business perspective, which is still all of our interests are aligned. I know sometimes you're like, oh, it's a company lobbying for players. What's going to happen? I mean, these companies can't ship their product in there, then there's nothing you can do, right? And they're going to lose money. They're going to lose a significant chunk of money. So they have the same interest as us as players and everybody else to continue to keep this thing going. I think I'm hoping we'll come up with some really good compromise. I mean, perfect situation, nothing changes. Better an alternative situation, I've heard this one proposed, is trying to look at laws that parallel what's going on in the US right now, where I've heard some proposals floating through back channels of, hey, let's do an orange tip. Let's possibly do what California is doing with multi-orange banding across certain parts during the sale process, the orange tip on the end. And then I've also even heard of being able to move airsoft out under that, because it's kind of in a destructive device firearm category. So it like getting moved out within and kind of following the same rules as the US with FPS levels, which could even be better for Canada, where you don't have like these high, like a different band. If you guys don't know, like Canada, like you have to actually have FPS levels that are higher to bring a replica in to the country. And like it's a higher FPS than a lot of fields, even sometimes indoor fields use here. So pretty interesting what's going on. Oh, we got US Airsofts in the chat too. That's awesome. So yeah, it's interesting what's going on, that it's moving forward. It's good to hear that. And I'm going to be doing a video on this myself. I know US Airsoft's pushing a little bit. I saw him sharing some of Dayton stuff. I've been talking to Dayton and trying to get good information, as well as other major distributors and retailers that also cross-sell up into Canada, so I can get kind of some real information from the closest to the source as possible, considering I'm not Canadian, I'm American, and I'm not even in America right now. I'm in Taiwan. So yeah, on that, let me slide back up. I saw something about tracers. Who was asking about tracers? God, your chat's so awesome. I have to like go way back up. And then the autocorrect. Let's see. Somebody asked, who is it? Tracer. Okay, Braden was asking, what tracer should I get for my high kappa? You could, we talked about this. I did a review on most of the models of Ace Tech. I think first off, Ace Tech's really probably got the best product out there right now. I like their Bifrosts. I think if you want kind of the all around, if you're going to be playing like a SpeedQB style indoors, speed softish, the Bifrost is cool because you can color code your flash at least. So if you can maybe in watching videos after, if your opponent's recording against you and they're like, oh, this guy was shooting at me, at least you can go, oh, my flash is purple or green or something, and you can set it that way. There's some benefits of having that. It's a pretty good all around, does everything. And if you're not even using tracer BBs, it'll at least illuminate the BB for a short pass. You can kind of see at least the initial trajectory on it. I like that, but it does give away your position if you have that feature turned on. You can just turn it to a regular tracer. I think the brighter and the lighter, from what I've been seeing, if you go back to my brighter review, I was looking at a lot of the comments, and people who've done a side-by-side comparison say the lighter is brighter than the brighter. But for a pistol, I like, and I'm seeing here, Sinvi Airsoft is the brighter C, that really small one. I've got it, like it's right, I got a closet over here. I should have got it out if we know we were talking about tracers. I like it because the size is so small, the weight is almost nothing. It has the auto turn on and off feature. All those things make it just an all-around awesome option to put on the end of a high kappa, because you're not going to add a lot of length. I mean, depending on what you're running, it's already long-ish. You want to keep it as compact as possible. I kind of like that as a solution for me too. I think even though the lighter, from what I've seen, people are saying it's brighter on the BBs, I've never had a brightness issue with anything Ace-Tac at all. Let's see. Yep. What else? Let's go through checks. There's a bunch. Kythera. Yeah, Kythera's good. If you like, I don't know. I've seen people say that Kythera's good. I've seen the people like hype on the Kythera, and then it went away. I kind of like the idea. So we're talking about the Kythera HPA system. What's interesting about the Kythera, and I don't know if you guys and gals follow HPA a lot. Let me see here. So what's this? Here we go. I don't want to do, yeah, I'll do that. Here we go. Let's see if my new layout works, or I really messed everything up. Hey, look, it works. All right, so here's the Kythera. I'm trying to, this is why the chat is smaller down here. I'm supposed to be that way, so my hand's that way. So looking at this, let me slide this over so I can get to it. So this is the Kythera. The interesting about the Kythera is it's mechanical. So the whole idea here, and kind of move it, is this is your mechanical actuation switch. So you don't need a battery, you don't need anything. Everything's kind of like old school mechanical HPA in a way. It's kind of, it's weird. It's like we're moving backwards in the world. Not in a bad way, but we're going to like full mechanical. I think if you want to have the least offensive version of HPA, when like I'm talking about like actually dealing with other players, people are like, oh, you're overshooting me or whatever. This removes, oh, Rod. This removes a lot of the, I think some of the negative, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe the negative kind of feelings around HPA, because it's a mechanical trigger. You can only pull it so fast, right? You can't like speed ramp it. You can't program these things. You can't get 50 BBs a second semi-auto because your finger just physically can't move that fast unless you're amazing. And yes, Dave, the big thing is no batteries. Because I'm going to tell you what, even though they've done a great job now with like the batteries don't drain, you got to get those micro little LiPo batteries. You got to charge little stupid things. If you forget those, your day's ruined. And you're asking somebody, he's like, do you have a charger that'll fit the tiny little plug? And you got to, like, if you leave them plugged in, again, if you have an older HPA engine, it'll drain them. The newer ones don't really drain the batteries. But if you forget to charge it, because I don't know, there's a lot of thousand reasons. There's also, yeah, you enjoyed your Titman. You know what? I had an early gen Titman, and they put a lot of fixes in it for me. They had actually put, it was right when they had changed the hop up and did some hop up tweaks on it. But the early Titmans had some massive problems. I mean, massive. They've resolved them now. If you don't mind tweaking and playing and working with your airsoft, then let me move back. Then it's not bad. It's not bad at all if you want to put the energy and the effort to change the hop up. The hop up though, the stock hop up on that original Titman HPA system they had was pure trash. I mean, there's just no way around it. The ones I used originally were great, but the accuracy, the way for them to hold that hop up, like, and they went with like their own hop up thing. Now, again, that's all been changed. It's all great. They worked out the bugs. It's definitely better. So FOV, your field, okay, your field band HPA, but a Kythera, I mean, that's almost, I get it. Because like here, the fields, a lot of the fields, especially indoor, will ban CO2 just flat out, like nothing CO2 at all. So that just makes life, I guess, easier for them to deal with. But it's kind of like the thing, like the field to ban HPA, but like a Kythera to me is like really honestly no different from a limitation standpoint as an AG. In fact, you're almost playing back as a crutch because it's semi-auto. You can't even do full auto with it. You can't set a high rate of fire. You can't do all this stuff. I mean, you can do a semi-auto thing. So I mean, like, I guess you can, but still, it's crazy. But again, I guess they'll be like, they'll look at you going, well, how's he run HPA? And then I kind of understand. The PSI, I know it says it'll run from like 60. Let me look here. Let me just read it. Yeah, the Kythera can operate between 60 and 180. So, in fact, let me just switch back over and I will show you. I'm so glad I got this web page thing going. So it looks like it's right here. If you can read my microtype. Let me see. Can I zoom in on this? I think I can zoom in. Let's see. Where's the zoom keys? Oh, here we go. Shortcuts, baby. All about that shortcuts. There we go. Now it's probably readable for everybody. All right. So the Kythera is an operating range of about 60 to 180, which is big. That's a really big range. So on the bottom end at 60, you're about 270. And on the top end, you're about 500. And that's with the 2. So you're going to have jewel creep if you're using heavier BBs. And if you're newish, jewel creep is in Airsoft, it's not linear. When you go up in BB weight, the FPS will drop, but they don't drop directly correlated. There's like it's like a curve. So if you put a heavier BB in, you don't lose as much energy that BB holds. So a lot of people will chrono with a 0.2. Like in this case, they're measuring with a 0.2 here on their specs, like 270 with the 270, 500 with the 2, and this is their barrel. 380 is not a bad length barrel either, but it's a 605. They're using a little bit of a wide bore. So with a 0.2, you're good, but let's see the muzzle energy. I don't know what the muzzle energy at 500 at 2 is like, what, 2 point something joules, 2 joules, maybe 2 point something. If you put a 4.3 in there, you might be 2.4, 2.5 joules. You might be above. You'll be up because HPA out of all of the methods of airsoft between HPA, GBB, and AEG electric, I'm just going to stick with those 3, that it has the highest jewel creep, the most retained energy if you go up in your BBs. I think GBB's next, and then AEG should be your last one. So a lot of guys will, and you'll see HPA players do this all the time. They'll go chrono with the 2, and they'll run back to the car, and they'll get the heaviest BBs they can possibly put in their HPA guns. And you're wondering, like, how is this HPA gun like slapping? I mean, these guys are like back of the map. They're mapping me from spawn. I'm like, or if you get popped 10, 15, 20 meters away, you feel like you're getting point blank. You're like, well, what the heck's going on? Right. And, it's because, these things the BBs are able to hold their energy more efficiently with an HPA system if you weight up. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, that's a huge range. Actually, it's a really good range. I've always liked the Kythera because there was never a mechanical option outside of the Tippmann system, really. And the Tippmann system is great. You can think these guys, Tippmann, have been making mechanical paintball guns for ever. Let me reset this. Rod left. Poor Rod. I like him. He was a good guy. He's not dead. Not rest in peace, Rod, but he just left Polar Star. All right. Let me switch back. I'm learning the stream thing. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh my God, so much chat going on. But yeah, I think Kythera is probably one of the easiest HPA systems if you want to be like the kindler, gentler, and you guys are a little more milsimmy. It's pretty good. Pretty way to go. Let's see. ARP9 or 5.56. I'm okay. I love the ARP9. Absolutely. I think it's super cool. The problem with the ARP9 has nothing to do with the platform and you guys know ARP9 and ARP 5.56. Those are both by G&G. They're like a SMG sized or PDW sized, Airsoft AG option. And they, are really popular because they've kind of were the initial push into that PDW, that small personal sized submachine gun looking sized but full on a airsoft gun. Now, the problem I don't like, the thing I don't like, and it's the same reason I'm not a big fan of like the MP5 or anything, or UMP. I love the UMP. I love all these, but actually playing with them is the mags. And it's not even just the mags, it's getting pouches for your mags. And the mags are really long, so you jam them in your pouch, and you got these things up here. And I swear to goodness, you dive the wrong way, and it's gonna just knock you out or break a jaw, or break a tooth, because these things are so tall. I mean, like they go way down here. They're like, let me see if I can get on the screen, like this. Like they're down in your pouch, and they come up, and depending on where you mount them, they're still like here on your chest. That's the only reason I don't like it. I mean, you can always do like a leg pouch. There's other ways to do it. You can do it around them horizontal across your back. I mean, there's a lot of other ways to do that. But for me, I just don't want to have to keep swapping chest rigs and stuff. Like I can go from big mag, like 308 mags to 5.56 size mags, because you can get pouches that'll do both. But to drop down to a pistol size mag like that, because that's essentially what it is, you got to reset up everything. And that's kind of the problem. And if you get a pistol one, they're short and they get this tall mag, and they'll kind of flop out. Sometimes they'll flop out on you, or they'll catch on things. I don't know. It's just me. So what else? But yeah, 3.2s, like, by the way, back to HPA again. If you guys are running HPA, I mean, you definitely should be running something heavy. In fact, it's rare I go play at any event now where I'm not running at least a 3.2, and that's with AEGs or anything. Even pistols, I'll run a heavier BB. If I make sure my pistol can, obviously hop it, that's the most important part, but I'll run a heavier BB just because one, I have one BB across everything. I don't have to worry about changing and everything's set. And two, it's just, I find that in close engagements, if I'm doing Milsim event, I'm going into buildings or whatever, and you're snap shooting people, or you're trying to you might lose a little distance, maybe if you're running a heavier BB, but having to be able to cut through the wind easier, because they'll just carry that energy just a little better and have a little less deviation. And then also that extra little oomph that heavier BB gets when it hits somebody helps people call their hits. And I find that I have to put less BBs down range to get someone to call their hit. And a lot of people do. I mean, we all do. But sometimes we just don't feel it, especially at the Milsim events. Man, you get geared up. You look like, you're a tactical turtle at that point. You got backpacks and all kinds of plate carriers and helmets and stuff on, and there's all kinds of stuff happening, and you don't hear things sometimes. So, Airsoft CA got your greasy hands on a used. Oh, you're dirty, man. You got a used Flak 10. Oh, I don't even want to talk about that. That is like it's the gun that never happened. It's wicked. I would love to play with one. I would hate to be on the receiving end. If you guys don't know, the Flak 10, I'm sure you do, the controversy behind it. The project that died, the company actually went under, I guess. I'm assuming, I think bankrupt, I don't know, closed or whatever. They're no longer in existence, the Airsoft Innovations, and Carlton, brilliant engineer behind that whole brand and line. The Flak 10 was like this semi-automatic airsoft shotgun that actually operated like a shotgun. Like literally like blast of BBs came out every shot, and it wasn't like in a straight line. It was like literally a spread, and it was, absolutely the most effective thing. Just nasty. I mean, you want to go in and clear it, and it's semi-auto, so as fast as you can pull the trigger, like you can just like burst of BBs, just a blast, shotgun blast, and not just one. It was like 10 or something, or 8 or whatever came out of the thing. Just disgusting in a terrible but awesome way. So you could clear a room, just walk in, just bam, 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 3 shots, and if you're in the room, you're gone. There's just no way. So, anyway, yeah, it's interesting. I would love that. I would love to know. But yeah, David, the current state of Airsoft Innovations, last I checked, their shop is closed in Canada. They're not replying to any emails. They've gone dark on everybody, and they are out of business, as far as I know. If that changes, somebody has more information, I'd love to know. But it's definitely, it's sad. It's unfortunate. I think they got chewed up by the pandemic, supply chain issues, and things like that. And during that Flak 10 project, I don't know what happened, but it seems like it was during that Flak 10 project. I don't know what was going on. It's a shame, because they had some of the best airsoft grenades. They just, all the stuff they made just really pushed the industry forward and gave you new tools to use. Albeit some of the tools were controversial, like, the what was it? The master mic or the 40 mic and then the master mic. The master mic was the softer, gentler version of the 40 mic. Still pretty wicked. That 40 millimeter shell that just shot an absolute hose of BBs. Like just, I've seen people on the receiving end of that here in Taiwan, and it's ugly. It's absolutely ugly. So yeah, and you're right, David, they did go, I mean, I guess I don't know if they went bankrupt or closed, or I don't know how they closed out their business, but I don't know if they owe money, so they had to file for bankruptcy, or they didn't. I haven't seen any filings. Usually those things kind of pop up. Like if a company goes bankrupt, I usually see those things. But yeah, I agree with you totally. There has to be some value. If they're in bankruptcy, the patents are going to be part of the company property, so they probably can't sell those until they get out from underneath it. But again, I don't know if they are or are not. I have no clue. If somebody, I don't know if you can look, should be Airsoft Innovations in Canada. I mean, if somebody can look in Canada, if there's like, usually if you go bankrupt, there's like legal postings and things like that. So yeah, let's see. Yeah. Oh, maybe a class action lawsuit. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a lot of dealers. Talking to dealers, and I'll just go ahead and give you guys what I know. I've talked to quite a few dealers that sent them money and never got product and never got their money back. And Airsoft Atlanta, the guys there were kind of leading the charge when that all happened. And social media, they're hilarious meme machine / light troll, but they always troll. They kind of troll for good, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I mean, I love the Atlanta guys. They're hilarious. Their memes are just on point too. They were relentless against these guys because, from what I understood, I mean, them, a bunch of retailers. I mean, I think like Red Wolf put in a big order. There's a bunch of the people that put like sizable orders in and never got their Flag 10s. I mean, we're talking big orders, like tens of thousands of dollars orders. So we're from what I know, at least 3 sizable companies that have put 5-figure US dollar chunks of money into the company and never saw product or their money back. So I definitely say there's money out there that, whatever. I mean, Airsoft Innovations is a pretty sizable company. It wasn't like tiny. So, if it's not a huge amount, they might be able to dig themselves out. I don't know what's going on though. I haven't heard anything else. Let's see. US Airsoft, you can't break away from 2.8s. That's cool though, man. Yeah, I mean, like for me, I'm always 3.2. That's just for what I always do. I don't know why. Like I do, like I said, there's some sacrifices like in your wallet and also in a little bit of range. I mean, 2.8s are awesome too. I mean, to be honest, if you're not running like 2.8s are better is what you should be doing. Honestly, I mean, I think you're not going to get the benefits until you move up to at least a 0.28 BB. And then from there up, it's just kind of a preference thing and whatever you like. Oh, so Dave, you said you had a Flag 10. It's not good in cold weather? Really? I guess because it depends on how they did the valve system. Maybe we should get like Polar Star or Wolverine to pick up the helm on like the Flag 10 and do one of their versions of it. I mean, we're talking about the Kythera, right, from Polar Star. Maybe those guys will do something. Hint, hint. Let's see. Yeah, getting banned before it's even released. I never bought a 40 mic. Let's see. What's the best way to super your L96? What brand L96 do you have, Brian? I think that's really what it comes down to. Yeah. Oh my God. Sync Wolf. Yeah, man, they're memes, dude. Those guys are so good at Airsoft Atlanta. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Airsoft, yeah, you're saying like some shops are out 15 to 20,000, Canadian. And I know the ones here, I've heard numbers between 10 and 30. From a couple different people. So, I mean, that's between you, from what you kind of know, and this, I mean, we're talking like, and that's Canada. None of mine are in Canada. So 50, 60, 70, 80, 100,000 US dollars. I mean, that's a chunk of money, man. I don't care who you are. That's a lot of money. So let's see. Wolverine. Yeah, man. I'd love to see Tippmann. I don't know, man. I don't think Tippmann could do it simply because Tippmann is such a big company. That's the kicker about Tippmann is they're almost corporate level at this point. They're such a big company. They have so many patents. They're massive in the paintball world. They own, I think 80 or some odd percent or more of the paintball market. Like when it comes to all the marker brands, all the paint, all the stuff out there, they own a massive chunk. I think it's like them and then Vulcan's like right behind them. It's like the number two. Um, but like when it comes to that, they just dominate. I think Airsoft's like a second thought to them. I think for them, their market, considering they own so much of paintball, that they're going to put their R&D and energy and effort into products that'll go toward that. Now, if you could find a way to make the system and make it work for both, like multi paintball, and you can swap a barrel out and make it multi airsoft, then maybe. Let's see. What is this? What else we got? But yeah, Brian, let me know about your L96 so we can kind of pick our brain on that. Yeah, creepy airsoft. Aftermarket hops best. Yeah, I'm with Sync. Was it? Yeah, Sync. Make sure he's pronounced it right. Sync with Martin. Yeah, I would say probably the Max hop up's pretty good. I'd probably go with that one. I think that's what most people are doing right now. There is, that said, and I haven't used it yet, that finally Lilacs has released a CNC hop up chamber. Finally. Like absolutely positively fine. It's like really, they finally did it. They've been always done their cast ones. They're known for their buckings. I want to try that one. I'm probably going to get a chance to tweak around and mess with it. The problem is a lot of my AGs here are VFC based, and you have to have the Max hop ups and some of the other ones. Max, I think Max works with VFC. Can't remember, but I know like the Pro Int doesn't, or it's the other way around. There's an issue because like it's not an issue. It's just the way their air nozzle is made. It doesn't match up with some aftermarket hop up chambers. It's just the nature of the beast. So, yeah. So you're running a WE L96. I'll tell you. Let's see. Let me look. How can you soup up? Okay. By the way, while I'm digging into that, Braden, can you get blowback HPA? Yeah, it was called the Daytona gun. Did that. It's actually like was kind of, I guess it's kind of blowback. It was reciprocating. It had like a weight. So let's see. I'm going to go over here. Let's see. So it's like the well. So you have like a well. Well, I think the well is based on, and somebody jump in if I'm wrong, the well should be based on the Marui system. I think the well is just pretty sure, was it Marui? I've never really messed with one. That's the Matrix. I don't know who makes that. Yeah, it's a the Well 96 TM clone. So if it's a TM clone, then anything TM would work. I mean, you could go down the list. There's like a million things you can do to tune that beast up. Like absolutely a million things. Yeah, the Well VSR 10. So yeah, it's the same. Yeah, because I just wanted to double check before I said, yeah, go do this. So considering that the Well is a clone of the Marui, you should be good to go. Typically the Wells will have a better cylinder. So you'll have to check if your cylinder, so when you take out the bolt and you look at the back of your cylinder, if it's just kind of got little crimps, like it's been crimped together, you're going to need to upgrade that cylinder. If it's got like what looks like at the very back of your cylinder, it's got like a metal pin, looks like somebody's drove a pin through it and like kind of filed it down flat, then you're good to go. You don't have to really upgrade your cylinder. So that's a big expense. Upgrading your cylinders one. You can usually do that last. If it's crimped on, as soon as you start getting up in power, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to rip that back your cylinder right off. It's going to happen. Like it's absolutely going to happen. You're going to just keep cocking the thing back because that spring the spring's obviously going to be upgraded, right? So as you start pulling it back, if it's just crimped on, it's just going to eventually come off. There's just nothing you can do about it. So make sure to get the one that has the pins. And if you just kind of look, you can literally just cock it back, take a look and be like, oh, looks like somebody's pushed a metal pin through it. You're totally good to go at that point. Also, it should be steel, I think, on the Well. I think it's funny, like the Well and some of the JG will do the steel. They'll do the upgraded cylinders, even though Marui doesn't. Because Marui, remember, they're selling for the Japan market. Your power level can't go above a joule. So there's no point in them doing the pinning and all that because you legally can't put a bigger spring in there. So yeah, look at that. Make sure you got it. Then you can bypass that upgrade at first. Then you're looking at I would just do piston head, probably change so I would do piston/piston head assembly. It's like the full piston assembly. Of course, your spring, you're going to need to do that. And then I would probably look at, if you're going to, depending on which piston head you get, you might have to get a new cylinder head that screws in, because you might get like, you might have to have one that matches up depending on the style you get. Some of those have like a plunger, some of them have a flathead, some are domed, it depends, like some are silent, the silent ones. Look at that, and then definitely look at some buckings. There's a million buckings in the market. I mean, easy mode is Lilacs, but there's like a ton of other companies, from like A Plus to Maple Leaf to Modify to, I mean, you name it. Like, there's so many companies out there putting out buckings. So let's see. Oh, the lightweight cyber featherweight. Okay, so the Cybergun featherweight, I've seen this thing. It's a pretty, okay. The problem with support guns, and I used to be a support gunner. We're talking about the Cybergun. We're switching to the M249 featherweight. The Cybergun M249 solves a lot of the problems I don't like about running a support gun, but also adds some complexities. So with the Cybergun one, I like how light it is. And it's kind of like the VFC. The new VFC one is actually really light too. It's not as light as the Cybergun one, but I think it's just cheap because it's mostly polymer. It's a pretty low cost. And I'm pretty sure too, those molds have been around for a long time. If you guys don't know, like when you make something new in Airsoft or anything really, like my mouse, right? You make a new mouse, there's molds. Like every piece, every wheel and click button and body and side buttons all require a new mold, and they do injection molding, right? So you actually have to build what's called tooling, and that's really expensive. So like to actually pump these things out is not much money. It doesn't cost that much at all to inject plastic into a mold and have them extracted and put these things together. The most expensive part, aside from like development and design, is gonna be your mold investment. I mean, some of these molds, like this mouse probably goes into a larger gang mold or something like that. I mean, you're talking like 20, 30, 40,000 US dollars for some of these molds, like really. So when you're talking about an M249, think of how big this thing is, right? And all the pieces and parts and everything on it, everything there requires a mold. Same goes for cast metal, same approach. You can avoid that by doing CNC, but then you have a lot of labor time and a lot of wasted material and higher end materials with CNC. So there's different sunk costs there. So when you do molding and you're making like a mouse or a big M249, then you've got to buy all these tools. Like basically you buy a chunk of metal and they machine it out and they make it the cavity, the size of the parts you're wanting to put the plastic in. That's how it works, right? So these companies have to invest a ton of money into those molds, and then you have to be able to produce enough product to recoup your cost. Now, once the molds are paid for, molds, by the way, have a lifespan too. You have to redo them after a while. But once the molds are paid for, then you start pulling your profits in. My guess is why these Cyberguns ones are so cheap are because the molds are just paid for, essentially, at this point. I mean, the M249 has probably been around. The molds have been around for a long time. They can utilize a lot of those. Like the mech box is kind of generic, the same M249 mech box. You're using a lot of the same components that have been out there. There's already existing molds for. Then, yeah, you can make these things affordably. So definitely, that's why I think. Now, again, I mean, plastic versus metal. I mean, there's a reason it's lightweight. If you're going to take this thing to a milsim op, yeah, it's super light, kind of gives you a benefit, huge benefit. But durability, think about this. I mean, heck, half the airsoft metal out there is not even that durable, honestly. Most of it's like a zinc alloy. But you could break that a lot easier or, end up with something cracked or broken. So it's a trade-off, right? Always a trade-off. So yeah, it's really, but I would be scared of it. As long, I mean, the mech box is metal. I mean, there's not like the only parts that really matter from like reinforced components internally is like your mech box and your, the hopper chamber, the barrel. That's like, you can put that system in just about any shell and you get a different airsoft gun. But yeah, and plus the M249 mech box, the way it's designed, like the shape and the build of it is like a absolute tank bulletproof gearbox design. Like you're not going to crack that shell. It's super, super rare you see an M249 gearbox crack, even with like a really strong spring. I used to run support guns at like the big milsim ops, like back the John Liu days, and I would do that at the AMS games too. But mainly like John Liu, some of the stuff. I loved running support gun because you've got full auto and you got a higher FPS. Now you had an engagement distance, so you had to like carry a sidearm, which is no big deal. but being able to pick people off at range at full auto, or at least keep heads down while the team was able to move up. I love that playstyle. It's kind of my playstyle. But the trade-off is you're schlepping something that weighs so much around. I'm not jacked like Airsoft Alphonse is. So, all right. Should I do, I should do a podcast. Yeah, Brandon, I know. Like that was how we got started. I don't know if you're how old of God, what was it? 2009 was the very first podcast. And, I think we ran like 50, 60 episodes or something like that. And then we stopped. I think it was a little bit longer than that. And then, of course, then became YouTube, not stopped. Rick's gaming trolling. LOL. Let it down on a good note. Oh, I'm trying to stay alive, man. No, it's been a while. I took a long break and it's good to be back. And I'm telling you, the reason I want to keep doing this is, anyway, I know you're trolling me anyway, Riggs, but there's not many people doing the Q&A help thing in Airsoft. And I really was hoping by now we would see more YouTubers step into the space. And there's only a few that do. I mean, we get US Airsoft in chat. He's awesome. But he does like all the great lists and the top whatevers. And I love those. Those are super entertaining. In fact, I should be doing those because they get a lot more views than this. But anyway, I kind of want to keep it going until we start to see more people that are willing to take on like this type position, like being slightly a little techie, but mainly more just general help. I'll probably be stuck around in there. So, let's see. US Airsoft, maybe a dumb question. Is Marushin long gone? Tanaka's still stuff. I don't know. Maru Zen is around. Maru Shin, they might still be like a small shop. I mean, I'll have to ask. I mean, we could probably find out in Japan. They might be still around. I don't know, man. They were kind of like the jam about 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like they always had they had some of the coolest high-end stuff. I mean, I don't know if they're still around. Roger Lowe, yeah, still live in Taiwan. Yep. Still here. Let's see. Reading through chat, Dalsoft, yeah, talking about the Krytacs. What can you recommend? Convert to HPA. I have an EMG overthrow and putting Kythera in. I mean, to be honest, any gun will work for HPA, just depending what you want to do. I mean, you can do support guns. You can do like M249s, the new LM4s. You can do everything down to, a lot of guys are doing the ARP9s, like we talked about, or ARP556, because they're small and super lightweight and just makes playing all day a lot easier. I mean, even a lightweight airsoft gun after you're playing all day is going to wear on you. Your arms are gonna be like a little burning out. Let's see. Oh yeah, Airsoft medicine. Yeah, US Airsoft. Oh my gosh, yeah, Dr. Airsoft, man. He was like one of the first. Scout the Doggy. Yeah, Milsim Junkie. Oh my gosh, Arwen. He's such a good. I haven't talked to Arwen in years. I gotta reach him. He was working at. Where was he working? Like a boot company, tactical boot company for a while. So. Let's see. Dalsoft. People use combat machines. Yeah, exactly. And Dalsoft is right. A lot of people are using like the combat machines, like G&Gs. That's why I said the ARP9 is super popular, or the cheaper lines, because once you swap to like the HPA, you've kind of upgraded the internals to like a pinnacle level. Like it's just one path to pinnacle, right? And HPA is one path to pinnacle. You can also do the full AEG build outs, and depending on what you want to do, high rate of fire, high FPS, balance, durability, whatever you want to build there. But HPA is kind of like a pinnacle build too. So once you get to a pinnacle build, it's just about what you want the shell to be. And that's a personal preference thing. I mean, at the inside, you're at pinnacle, right? Once you put the HPA system in, you got the proper like great barrel and a good bucking, and you've made it everything up. You got a good air seal in there. At that point, it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. It's all personal preference. I would do light, like I said, the G&G like line, combat machine line. Like you can really get anything. A lot of people go budget on their shell, the outer build of the gun, because you're just going to gut it anyway. Whatever you buy, you're literally taking almost every piece of guts on the inside out. So if the outside looks cool and the inside are like average internals, it doesn't matter. You're going to gut them anyway. You're going to take them out. They're going to live in a parts box. You're going to give them to a friend to fix their gun. So. Why is it so hard? Yeah. Why is the KWA MP9 so hard to find? I don't know if they're even making the MP9 anymore. So let me see. Let me see if I can talk about this. MP9. So I'll kind of touch on, okay, I think it's a really good time to talk about this. And this is interesting since you brought up the MP9, and then we're going to get into recording because I have like about 45 minutes. So, on the topic of the MP9, this is going to be a little bit of fun news for all of you out there that ASG, there's three major licensing companies in Airsoft, arguably now four. ASG, Action Sport Games, they're based in Europe. Umarex based in Europe, Cybergun based in Europe, right? Those are the three big ones, right? They hold the lion's share of licensing. There used to be some others like Jag Precision carried some, and then you have Mad Bull. They had a lot of licenses. A lot of those, including the Cybergun catalog in the States, have all moved under EVIC. So you can arguably say that EVIC is one, if not the biggest license holder in Airsoft at this point. So you look at that and you look at the major license holders. ASG had the license for B&T. They were the B&T license holder. They had it for ever. So when they would work with a company, they would grant the license to that company on behalf of B&T, and they would let them make the product. In this case, KWA making the really awesome MP9. So I think the announcement came out last week, and you can go check it out. Archwick is one of the, I think the first one to break the news because they've been doing a lot of B&T products, that ASG no longer has the exclusive license to B&T. It's expired / rescinded. And now it's been, let's just say it's been taken away. I won't go into details on all of everything because I don't want to, end up incurring the ire of ASG, but let's just say it's been taken away. It's no longer their license. And now it's gone back in-house with B&T, and B&T is granting these licenses. And I don't know, during that time, I'll tell you, ASG had some fantastic and still has some fantastic licenses. ASG has just not been incredibly active with those licenses. I think the biggest one they have been is CZ. I mean, they're making the Scorpion, they've got the PO9, they've got the Shadow. They've really been pushing the path of the CZ license. It's kind of been their flagship license. And some of the other licenses I felt have been, at least looking from the outside in, I know these projects cost a ton of money and everything, that these projects were just kind of like maybe the second tier, the second thought project in working with these companies. So now that license has been pulled. So companies like KWA can now work directly with B&T or other companies for that matter to go work on these projects with B&T. So now that it's out there, now it's public knowledge, it's something I've known about. It's been going on there's some interesting stories behind this that unfortunately I can't or should not share. But needless to say, things are moving forward. You're going to see a lot more B&T stuff show up, and you're going to be seeing B&T get back into the airsoft marketplace, I think, stronger and be a bit more diverse. So understand that's what's going on. And this isn't, I know it's like kind of hearsay, but like it's definitely something that's been happening in this industry. And I like, now that it's kind of, like I said, it's been public. Archwick did an announcement saying that they've got the SPR 300. They've got, of course, the PCC, the G17 USW system, and then like the kits. And now I think they got one more project. I don't know if they've announced it or not. I don't want to say it if they haven't, but yeah. But anyway, I think you're going to see the MP9 come back. So give it some time. I mean, KWA has the molds. It's all done. Like, I'm sure they can just dust them off and start making them again. And they can probably work directly with B&T. I'm not even sure if KWA is aware of this at this point. So, hey, KWA, if you're watching, reach out to B&T and fire that project back up. So that'll give you an idea what's going on. So, and it's a weird one. Like, there's a lot of things you kind of living here in Taiwan, you kind of hear and learn, and you're part of conversations and things like that. There's a lot of things I can never share. I have to wait till they go public before I'm like, okay, now I know, and I can tell you guys and gals what's going on. So yeah, let's see. All right, let me do this. I'm going to answer FOV. What happened to Classic? Classic Army's still around. It's under, I think you see most of it sold between Airsoft GI and Airsoft Megastore. So that's kind of who they're aligned with, because like every retailer has their own favorite like companies they work with or preferred companies for their house brands or for distribution. And in this case, it's that's with the I guess the sub-brand partnership is that. It's funny, CA like they disappeared for a while. I don't know what happened. Like the owner disappeared. I've heard rumors and stories of what happened. Like, so Classic Army kind of disappeared for a while, and then he reemerged like a phoenix, and then there was like this mass push for like a year and a half or 2 years of just like CA everywhere again, Classic Army everywhere, and then it kind of like settled back out now, and it's smooth. I mean, they're still out there, but it's just some models here and there. Oh, who's going to be Nordic? Yeah, I know who is going to be. I don't know who's dealing with SIG. Like, if you look at SIG, I mean, you got VFC making they have the MCX and the MPX AEG, and I think, I don't know, but they work with. I mean, also VFC does their pistols. It might be VFC. I mean, VFC might be the one. But I don't know. SIG works with a lot of companies, so. Classic Army still has good stuff. Yeah, Classic Army stuff's good. It's solid. The price is right. I mean, like, you look at that, and I think another company that parallels, if you guys like Classic Army, take a look at Arcturus. Not Arcturus, the outdoor brand. Arcturus. Arcturus is another brand coming out of Hong Kong/China, similar to Classic Army. And I think you're going to find parallels to quality. They're not the same company by any means, but you find parallels to quality and build and price. So if you're looking at like a CA type metal-ish affordable build gun, take a look at that. Oh, I know, Luke, right? Can we please get SIG GBBRs, right? Jeez. All right. APO1C, I don't know. I really don't know. That said, and I'll tell you this before I jump into filming. Last thing is the MOA show is going to happen in December 3rd, 4th, 5th, that weekend, whatever weekend that is. So I'll be covering that. I should have updates on anything coming out of Taiwan, including like the AAPO1 line, any of the new AP stuff, anything along those lines. A lot of companies will be dropping their new stuff. In fact, I think you're going to see more new releases there by far than SHOT Show, and I'll be there covering it. So it'll all be good. And thanks, Ignition. Appreciate it. All right. Let's see. What question? Oh, US Airsoft. You still on the Galil train, man? You're like, I love a Galil, but I remember you always loved Galil. Hey, Creepy. How you doing, man? Classic Army M132. I know, right? They need more M132s in this world. That was like the pinnacle of CA. All right. Let's see. I need to pull one question from you guys. Yeah, it was Ultima? Yeah, you're right. I think it was Ultima. He was there. Going back up. GHK, Andrew. GHK AKs. I've not had a chance to play with them. I know the was it the G5? What's it called? G5, I think. The GHK, it's solid. It's good. I don't know about the AKs. I've never run their AK. What was a good one? I'm going back. Creepy Airsoft. Best way to clean your barrels. Actually, that's a good question. I'll use that one. That's a really good tech question. I'll jump that one in since I haven't talked about it in the show. I don't want to drop the bomb on B&T and the main Q&A show. I'll maybe save that for like a news show in the future, like I said. But you guys get to hear first, essentially, unless you follow Facebook accounts here in Asia. Then you heard a second from me. I'll do Creepy's question. All right, let's get filming on the Q&A. Let me get my mic on, and then we'll get started. Because like I said, I've got in 30 or so minutes, I got to bounce. So for those of you who are first or new here, what I do during the show is I will record the Q&A show. It's still called Mondays, I guess. I don't know. I'm still playing with the name. Get my mic set up and everything. So don't mind me reaching across the camera here. That I will do the recording for that show semi-live here with you guys and gals. Which one is the input? Don't want to put in my headphone jack on it. It's all messed up. So I'll do the recording here. So I'll actually let you guys and gals know what's going on. I'll be delivering into the camera like I'm talking to you, but I'll be actually answering all the questions from the Q&A. And like, so when I say goodbye at the end of it, I'm not really going to be goodbye. I'll let you know when I'm done filming, and then we'll come out and also talk to you between the questions too. And then what happens is I'll edit that portion and it'll be its own standalone video on the channel. So just like I used to do the Q&As, but you just get to see it recorded live. So, all right, let me get all the technology turned on and mic myself up. At least I'm organized today. So you get to kind of see the behind the scenes. I don't know if, I think other streamers do this, but kind of dealing with all the setups and everything. If you guys are into stuff, I use like a Sony camera. I get an A6500 up there. Like, and then I've got the DJI mic is what I use. These are great. Like absolute little great mics. You can record into the box as well as record through and into the camera. Let me check. Camera. Check. All right. Good. Camera level. Check. All right. Different mic system than you guys. So I will hit record. So the audio is recording now. And I will start recording up here. So you're still going to hear me. You're still going to see me. So there we go. And now I lost myself up there. When I hit record, I lose the screen. I think I told you that last week. So I can only see myself down here. It's actually good because I find, because the camera's got like a flip up screen. So I find myself staring at that screen all the time. Let's see. Oh, Sin, I'm looking at your chat. Like, I'm having a look at a small window because I got it frozen over in Creepy's question. Yeah, like you started video calling, just do it, man. The most important part, if you want to start streaming, do it. Like, just do it. It'll come later on. All the other stuff will come, but just start it. That's the most important part. All right, let's do this. Let's get started. I've got the questions. Let me open up my new Mondays. Q1, Q2, video of the week, and I'm going to pull Creepy's question as the third from live chat. That's a good one because I haven't answered here in live chat yet. And Paul, I may talk about Paul's too. Paul's question right below Creepy's about the Speed Sim lineup. Because we talked about Mil Sim last week. I don't know, we did talk about, I don't want to do Speed Soft 2 in a row though. Paul, I might save your question for next week. So come back and join the stream next week. Day early, by the way. We'll do that one. Or just drop it under, when I post this video on Monday, drop it under there and I'll rip it from that. I'll use it for the future. Let's see what questions I had pulled already though. Pick. All right, that's a good one. All right, cool. All right, let me get started. We're going to do our recording real quick and then do this. So hang tight. You get to watch the live version of me messing up a lot on my Q&A video. All right, and we're going to start now. Move my mic down a little bit. Hey everybody, welcome to the Airsoftology Q&A show, the show that is hopefully here to help demystify the world of airsoft for you. I'm Jonathan Higgs, and I'm your host. And if you guys didn't know, heads up real quick before we get started on the questions this week, this is actually filmed live in front of a live stream. So if you want to join me, normally it's on Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time in the US, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then adjustable based on your time zone. I think it's like 1:30 in the morning in GMT. And if you're over here in Asia like I am, it's going to be 9:30 in the morning when it's recorded. We start the recording. Usually the recording of this happens about an hour in. So with all that taken there, if you haven't hit the sub button, definitely do it and hit the notification bell so you'll know when I go live so you can be a part of the live stream and I can pull your questions and get them answered here as part of the show, or you can put them below this video. So aside from that, let's dive on in. Oh, before we get started, I do want to say this show is brought to you by Patch Fiend Patches, but more on that later. All right, first up, I'll start with Creepy's question. Creepy Airsoft asks in chat, what's the best way to clean inner barrels? I used to play paintball, so I clean those all the time. After switching to Airsoft, I've always worried about the bucking. So yes, there is a proper way to clean your inner barrel of your Airsoft. The first thing I'll tell you, what you don't want to use is any kind of petroleum-based cleaner. That's the most important thing. You're coming from paintball, you probably know that already, but anybody who does it, don't use anything that is petroleum-based. So like WD-40, the big no, anything like that. No. You can use different things. Some people use alcohol. I personally will use either alcohol. Sometimes if it's really bad, I'll use silicone spray, but there is a downside to silicone because your next 30, 40, 50, or even 100 shots are going to be a little wild because you're going to have silicone in the barrel as it starts to evaporate and work its way out. So the best way to do it simply is every airsoft gun you buy actually has this little crazy plastic rod that appears in the box. And that rod is specifically the right length to clean and unjam your airsoft replica. So you'll need to get that out of the box. It's the best way to do it. It's plastic, it's rounded, it's safe to use. Anything else is going to scratch that metal inner barrel. So don't use like one designed for like a 22, because those are close in the same dimensions, like real, because those are typically metal cleaning rods, and you run the risk of scratching your inner barrel. And you don't want to do that because it could cause problems with the BB, and it could make it go weird ways as the BB comes out due to the scratches. So you'll start with that. And I typically will take either a small piece of cloth, like maybe a microfiber cloth, or just like a part of an old t-shirt. And I like to use white, and I'll tell you why in a second. Or you can just use something simple like a soft paper towel. I try to stick away from anything very abrasive. And you're going to use that. You're going to put a little alcohol, or if you really need to clean it, silicone. I personally say alcohol. Turn your hop up all the way off, and you can run it down into the barrel and clean it. If your hop up's all the way off, the nub should be all the way up. Now, here's the kicker though. You don't want to go so far as to jam that cloth to where it comes out of the back side of your hop up bucking. So what you kind of want to do is just be careful. The best way to do it is to take your airsoft replica apart, take the barrel and bucking assembly out, and clean it that way. That way, as you run the rod down into down in the barrel, you can look and see and make sure you don't go too far to actually hit the lips of the back of the bucking itself, where it mates up with your air nozzle inside. As the BB goes in there, it kind of holds it. Because if you tear those lips or flip them or rip them, you'll end up with an air seal issue, and then your gun's not going to shoot well at all, or you may have feeding problems or all kinds of things. So if you can take it out, it's the best. If you have to do a quick clean on the field, just kind of look. And what I'll do is especially once you clean it the first time, run that rod down your barrel, see exactly where the end would be before it gets too close to that area where the lips are, and then I'll put a piece of tape on my cleaning and unjamming rod. I'll actually do a little ring around it there to know that's where I got to stop. So when I'm running it down my barrel, I know that's my stop part, right? So or put a mark. You can use a pen, like a bright pen, like a white marker. Tape around it works good, because then you actually, if you put enough tape rolled, you can't even jam it down in the barrel at all. So if you put like a thick enough layer wrapped around, so that way you know exactly where to stop. So I'll put it in, and I use kind of a circular motion as I pull it out, and do it multiple times. You're going to take it, you're going to rotate that cloth, or that nice soft paper towel, on the outside until it doesn't come out dirty anymore. You'll be surprised at how dirty this thing is. Continue to use the alcohol, wetting this thing, cleaning it, running it through. You may have to change that little pad a few different times until you get it nice and clean. You'll be surprised at the accuracy change you'll get after cleaning your barrel. There's actually a lot of gunk that ends up in that barrel, whether it's just play from your magazine through the BBs, and then just some of that mech box grease that works its way out and through. But yeah, I said ideally you want to take that barrel out with the hop up. You don't have to take the hop up chamber off. You can take that whole assembly, like slide it out and work on it. Some airsoft replicas are easy to do than others. If not, you can be really delicate and just not jam it so far in to mess up those lips. So hope that helps. There's a lot of great videos out there on the YouTube to show you how to do this as well. But that's just kind of the basics behind it. If you actually look at most airsoft manuals, they'll have kind of a basic way to clean it. But that's what I've always done, and it's worked out really good for me. Yeah, most do. Actually, it's funny. Some of them, like I say, sometimes they'll hide them underneath, and I'm looking at chat, but I'm back out in chat now. Like Skywolf, yeah, like most of them, some don't, and I agree with you. Like I've noticed a lot of GBBRs don't, but most AEGs do. And if they do have them, sometimes they're hidden under the foam, or they just get tossed in there. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Let me get my questions for this week out. All right, the next one. This is coming from below last week's. So, Optic writes, Airsoft electric grenade could be sound only or add LEDs, reusable for cheap and super quick reset, adjustable fuse. Why is this not a thing? I made one with a push button MP3 meant for greeting cards. $1 million idea, just saying. So yeah, we were talking about last week about effective airsoft grenades and how like Airsoft Innovations had it, and like it's a non-pyro version. There's a lot of the blank grenades that are popular in the UK where those are allowed, but in the States you don't really see many of those. They're not really allowed. A lot of fields don't want people using any kind of pyro of that, or people are using like Tag-In or Enola Gay brand, and those are actually pyro based. But the sound grenade's an interesting idea because it actually flashes back, and I saw this question, so I want to kind of discuss sound grenades in airsoft. And I'm going to throw this question back to you in chat below here. So I want to get your thoughts for next week. So I want to kind of bring this topic up in the live stream and also continued on in next week's Q&A. There used to be, you could find them on Amazon, and I bought a bunch of these. They were super cheap. They were like $4 or $5 a piece. They took AA batteries. They looked like a grenade, and they were bright yellow, and they had a little spoon on them, and they were kind of like an alarm clock. They had a little pull pin, but it was like a keychain, and it was like basically the arm and disarm. So it's like kind of clicked in and just disarmed it, and you couldn't turn off the sound grenade until you put the little pin thing back in. And these are great little ones. I'll find them. If I can find them, I'll put it below this video. I'll put a link to it. And you took the rubber shell off, you put like a AA in there, and it was annoying enough that you couldn't stop it. I think the spoon, because it looked like a pineapple grenade, the spoon you could squeeze in and it would like pause the grenade for a minute. It would stop the sound, but it would just make a loud, annoying alarm sound. It was kind of like one of those personal alarm things you get. And that was a very effective grenade tool I used to use on the airsoft field all the time as a distraction. And like, it doesn't work like a flashbang. It's not gonna, it was never allowed to, you couldn't score a kill with it. It wouldn't like count that. But I've been to some fields where even a foam grenade was allowed to score a kill because they didn't want to use, like, especially like in the desert. Remember, desert flux fields used to allow foam grenades because if you used pyro out there in the desert, you'd like catch the whole place on fire, which is a great way to use grenades in airsoft without risking fire and major problems to the landscape. But these things were awesome. And you're talking about the kind of the same concept idea. I know they existed. They may not even exist anymore. This has been a long time ago. And I used to carry like 2 or 3 of them. They eventually broke. They were cheap plastic and just made trash. But they were good to throw into rooms to get people like, what's that alarm sound? It's just annoying, right? Just enough to get them distracted just a little and maybe hide your team's movement up behind. But to your point, yeah, why doesn't somebody make a really effective version of one of these in airsoft? Like, you can make one that's like loud, has like maybe 3 levels of loudness, like loud, and really loud, right? And then you can set the level depending on where you are, and it just plays an alarm. Maybe it plays for 10 seconds. Maybe you can record audio like those greeting cards. You can actually have it say something, although that would be such a troll if it was. But just to have it make some noise or do something that would be an effective distraction device. Or you can use these things, and maybe you can even program them to the point where after they're deployed, if you pick it back up, the reset process is a little more challenging, so you can't just continue to throw these things over and over again in a game. Maybe it has a reset timeout of like 5 minutes, so you can only use these things every 5 minutes. There's a lot of things you can do to program it. I see companies like that have the technology, like the technological know-how, like Ace Tech, or like, and so Ace Tech would be awesome. Like, with their ability to do tracers, imagine if they had some kind of strobe feature, like LED lights or something, like a strobe light. Because I mean, you think about this, it's a company that's used to using strobing LEDs, and they can use optical sensors, and they have that technology. Guys like Polar Star, they're actually designing the electronic boards. Wolverine, there's, who's it, Gorilla makes that aftermarket board. There's a lot of companies out there doing really cool electronics, and I think that could be the next airsoft grenade in the absence of Airsoft Innovations, something that's safe and usable indoors. It would have to have multiple sound levels, so you can let the field at least pick a level, because it don't be too much to where it like will drown out everybody's sound. But it's a great idea. I think it's awesome, and I think somebody should do this. There probably is, I don't know about $1 million idea, but if you can make something effective, affordable, reusable, and maybe like put an air tag or something there so it's trackable, or like a tile, so if you lose it, you can at least find the thing. It could be pretty darn good, especially at Milsim. If you have like a tracker in it, you can track these things down, because sometimes you like chuck them and then you're like, where'd it go? Or an enemy grabs it and puts it in his pocket. At least you can find the thing later. But I think it's pretty cool. I think it's definitely an idea. And if somebody's out there watching that's into this, this might be a good idea if you have the distribution channels to get into doing an effective airsoft grenade. All right, one more question, and then we'll be done. Cole Whitehead writes, I have a question. I've heard it from a few people, and yes, I even have my own opinions on it, but I want to hear it from a professional standpoint. LOL. Is airsoft actually considered LARPing? LARPing, yes. And like I said, we record live, so I'm interested in chat's comment on this. We'll talk about this after we wrap up the show, but I'm going to address it with you guys here watching the recorded show. My opinion is yes, absolutely. Especially at like the Milsim level, it's 100% LARPing. If you don't know LARPing is live action role play. The core version of that would be you see these people in the park dressed up in medieval garb. They've got like the foam or the swords, and they'll do like these sword battles, and they'll literally have very strict rules on how to win these events and games. It's competitive. So it's live action role play. It's like basically live action, playing an RPG. So you have classes, they can do different things. And they always seem to be like in like the parks in the summertime. And there's groups, sometimes they're in community centers will go play and whatever, but there's actually true organizations. Is Airsoft that? In my opinion, absolutely. And I'll tell you this, I don't ever take myself too seriously when I play Airsoft. I mean, if you boil it down to the core components, do you dress up and play a character or role? Yes. Medieval, Airsoft. So, magician, support gunner or sniper rifle, sniper, right? Do you have specific roles and rules based on that role? Well, yes, minimum engagement distance, the type of weapon you can use, that's exactly the same. Do you put a costume on that mimics that role or benefits the use of that role? Well, yes, at Milsim events, there's uniform requirements and class requirements. Are there, is there limitations to how many of these you can have? Well, yeah, at a Milsim event, they only let you have so many support gunners and sniper players. Otherwise, it would ruin the game. Do you have more warriors than anything else? Well, yes. Do you have different roles? Well, yeah. So I'm starting to check the boxes off here, and boy, it sure sounds like we are. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it's just what we're doing. It's a modern day version of LARPing. Especially, I'm using Milsim because or even like a light Milsim type event, because there's a lot more rules around that make it closer to LARPing. Now, is casual play? Arguably, you don't have to be. You can show up like I'm dressed right now in a t-shirt, pair of shorts, jeans, whatever, comfortable shoes. You can go out and play Airsoft. Look at, people play indoor. They're playing in like hoodies and beanies and whatever. So I think there are certain aspects of Airsoft that are for sure LARPing. And then there's some that are like practice or hobby or fun. I mean, some people never it's like skirmish games are not practice necessarily for a Milsim event. They're just I love playing just good old fashioned skirmish outdoor, love going outdoor fields. It's kind of like my jam. Indoors, depends on the rules. It depends on the play style. And it also depends on the local vibe of the field. I enjoy it all, but given the choice, I'll just go play outdoor in skirmish. And that's kind of my favorite. I love that. It's kind of just the go-to thing. I like kind of sneaking around the woods, not having to get too dressed up because I don't want to get too heavy on the gear and all that. But I also do love going to Milsim events, but those are experiences. Those cost a ton of money to go to, and you got to prep for so long and have the exact right things to match your squad or your role or whatever you're playing, which is LARPing. So, but I'm curious because you might disagree with me, and I'm totally cool with that. And please understand, on this channel, you can always disagree. You're not going to get trashed in the comments. We might have a good discussion down there, but it doesn't mean I'm right or you're wrong or whatever. Please, I'd love to hear your opinion on this or any of the questions I've asked in the show or answered, because this is a community and I'm looking for everybody's opinion, and everybody's opinion does matter. The only thing is, the one rule I have is DBAD, don't be a jerk. As long as you're respectful, your opinion will be allowed here, always. So yeah, I'm curious, is Airsoft LARPing? I want to know, chat, what do you think? Is Airsoft LARPing? Is all Airsoft LARPing? Is part of it? Or is none of it because it's totally different? Because Jonathan, that's medieval and this is modern military, and or we're running around playing, baby wars. It's totally not. It's not the same, John. I'm curious. Let me know in the chat below. I'll be down there joining you. See how it all plays out. All right. Video of the week. I actually have a video of the week this week. And then we'll wrap. All right, that's it for questions this week, which means it's now time for the video recommendation of the week. Yes, it's back. It's been over a year since I've done one of these. And you know what? I saw somebody in chat from last week, and it made me think, wow, he's really grown since we last chatted. It's Caslab Airsoft. He goes, I'm a Speedsoft player, because last week we talked about Speedsoft in Airsoft and if it's taking over. I'm a Speedsoft player, but mainly plays outside, he was writing. He goes, edit, I wouldn't mind a shout out. Remember the last time I asked for it was at 700 subs. Now I'm almost at 3,000. He's actually at 2.95 thousand, on the edge of 3,000 subs. And you know what, Caslab, man, it's time for you. So I've actually pulled up one of his more popular videos, something later. He plays HPA with a Kythera, no less. No, it's actually MTW. Sorry, I was doing Polestar. He's doing MTW. Let me clear my throat. We'll start that. He's an MTW outside playing Speedsoft-ish style at a skirmish / milsim game, and he is absolutely in this video just decimating the opponents. He's one of his longest kill streaks, according to the title, and he's really good. I like his graphics, gameplay. Definitely check him out. And it's good to see someone that the last time we chatted, we were at 700. Now you're almost 3,000. I mean, come on. We've got enough people here to watch these videos. We can definitely push him over that 3,000 mark at this point. There's no doubt in my mind. So here's how this works, by the way. And of course, you've been watching this video play over my shoulder. If you guys have a channel and you want it highlighted here, or if you know of a good channel of like somebody at your local field or somebody you watch on YouTube that you love, I really like sharing channels that are growing. For me, the requirement really is somebody I want to share is someone who's posting semi-regularly, at least, kind of doing constant uploads, has a little bit of history on YouTube, and is doing things positive for the community. I don't want to like really post a troll channel or anything like that. If you kind of follow those criteria and you have your own channel, because I'll absolutely promote you or someone else, just put it in the comment section below. Be persistent, because I can only do one of these every single week. I don't want to like flood the channel with like 7 channels every single week talking about. I want to give one great channel the highlight. I'll pick yours. If I don't pick yours next week, keep putting it down there. Trust me, I do see it. I remember his from over a year ago, and it might have taken over 365 days to get him there, but by golly, Cast Lab, I got you in there, man. So if you guys like his channel, I'll have a link over here in the corner, or which I forget which corner, this corner here, that would have popped up that would take you over to his channel. You can watch his channel, mash the sub button for him. I also have a link directly to his video in the description box below this, and I might even put it in the pinned top comment as well. So if you like his stuff, once we wrap this video, head over there, give him some watches. If you think this gameplay is something you're into, mash the sub button over in his channel, and let him know I sent you under the chat. All right, that's it for this week for the Q&A show. Thank you all for joining me here. I love that there's live chat, and I'll be joining the live chat again after we wrap this. I love there's live chat here. I can kind of do this live in front of a studio audience and spend some time with my friends here. We're chatting about all these topics, and I'm taking some of these questions, answering your questions pre-Q&A show, and then bringing a couple of the questions into the show. I'll be doing the same every single week, grabbing a couple questions out of chat, putting them in here, as well as questions from down below. So anyway, until next time. Oh yeah, by the way, Patch Fiend. You know I own a patch company. We do a lot of, I'm gonna show you my newest one. Let me show you. This is my newest one. I'd be a little rude, but it's great for a dangler pouch, really. I sell patches. And by the way, we talked about LARPing. What better tie-in? I got a D20 patch. If you guys you play tabletop games, I got a D20 patch. It's on patchfiend.com. Do shipping worldwide. I just updated the shipping zones. A lot of countries have opened up, especially if you're in Europe. UK, you're all open now. So where you weren't before because of shipping restrictions, I got you covered there. Check it out, patchfiend.com, or you can just go to the link below. It's airsoftology.com/store will take you over to Patch Fiend. Also, if you're in America, Amazon. Just Google Patch Fiend on Amazon, and you'll find my stuff on there. And it's all in Prime, so you can get it Prime shipped to you. So anyway, that's it. Until next time, go out, play some airsoft, have some fun, but no matter what you do, call your freaking hits. All right, so we're done with the live show. Let me stop the recording. You guys stick around, because I'll say goodbye to you. Got 10 minutes left for you guys here in chat. Don't leave me. All right, that's done. Let me stop this. All right, mic off. Looks like we're good. Let me get back to chat. I probably missed so much of chat. When I do the live part, it's like, probably got like a mile of chat to catch up with you guys. Oh my gosh, yeah. Show. Darren, I don't know why it held your question, held your post for the highlight. Yeah, I'll check out K Factor 39. I'll look at that. Yep, Flanker Jack, Speedsoft versus Milsim is Team Edward versus Team Jacob. That's good Twilight reference, yeah. That's pretty much it. It doesn't matter, right? And I agree with you totally. I think there's so much, it's kind of almost like politics, right? You look at it and like, oh, well, I'm this, nobody fits in every bucket, right? Like I play Milsim, and I think, well, let me scroll back up because it goes back to, I want to give the right name and not go off history because my memory is trash. Which one is it? Going back up. Was it Braden? Who had the question about Milsim Light at their local field? I think it was Braden. Was it Dulce? No, it wasn't Dulsoft. Was it Paul? Paul did. All right, Paul. Paul Delaney. I want to make sure I get the right person. So Paul was talking about this, about doing a speed sim. Like, I'll be honest with you, when I play skirmish, especially with my team, the back in Tennessee, the team I used to play with there, and they're, I think, half there, half are in Jacksonville, Florida now, that we would play that kind of style way back in the day before it existed. We would play aggressively fast, but still somewhat tactical. There were a few of us that, like, we'd flank, we'd do things, you know, don't get me wrong. Playing Speedsoft, there is, if you play as a team and not as a solo player, there's 100% tactics and skill and picking the play against the team you're against. And we would do the same thing, but on outdoor fields. And it's, of course, not as fast. And I think it works, and it was fun, and it changed the vibe. And some of the games were set up to be that way. And then we'd had some attack and defend games, which would slow our team down, right? Where you'd have to have like a base defense. One team would defend the base, one would attack the base. So that would change it to not give the aggressive play style a big advantage. You'd have to play a lot more strategic. So I think that really, it doesn't matter how you play. Just go out and play for real. Just, again, like I said in the video, DBAD, don't be a jerk, you know? As long as you're respectful, you play, you're not like overshooting people, you know, you're not screaming and yelling people to call their hits, and you know, you're not cursing people up and down, you know, just, it's airsoft, man. We're just shooting each other with plastic BB guns, and we're dressing up in costumes. I mean, come on, it's really what it is. Let's all have fun. Let's see what else. Yeah, you can tell I've done this before. Yeah, I've done this a few times. How do you make competitive airsoft? You know, there was a competitive airsoft thing. Aside from Speedsoft, there was, God, it was like, what, 5, 6, 7 years ago? There was this competitive airsoft league. And I don't know what happened to them. They had like this box, and like you would have to, like, each class you could carry, like, you'd have different roles, different respawn timers, different rules. And if you wanted to respawn, and you had to, like, when you came in to respawn, you'd hit your class button, hit the button, it would have a special timer for your class. I think that was a really great way to do it competitively at a skirmish level. Speedsoft, obviously, you have refs, and it's very much falls like speedball and paintball. And I think the other competitive airsoft, if you really think about it, is like a Milsim event. Or even at skirmish games where you have some sort of scoring system, like attack and defend, scoring points, things like that. Time, how fast, like we would do the attack and defend games, and how fast could you get in? We used to play this game called, and I'll kind of wrap with this, we have like 5 minutes left, Mad Medic. And it's a great game style. So you'd have like one team defending and one team attacking, and inside you'd have, depending on how big your team, 1, 2, and sometimes 3 medics. And these are the Mad Medics. They could just run up, tap you, and you were back in the game. But that's the only way you could respawn. Because think about it, if you're doing base defense, eventually they pick you away, you're going to be gone, right? Especially if the base isn't super defensive. So you'd have these medics that essentially would barely even carry a gun on them. They run around like crazy, diving, sliding, whatever, trying to tag people back in. And so your ultimate goal was to basically take out those medics. And the attacking team made better progress, got up on the wall of the base, and we had a pretty big field, so we could do this. It got more and more difficult for those medics. They'd have to make the decision, do I run and tag those people back in or not? And then if you're defending, you had to make the risk, like, okay, I see team, do I sneak out of the base and go try to flank them? But if I die out there, I'm done. There's no way a medic's coming to me, right? There's no way anybody's gonna have the guts to come out there, right? You don't expose your medic like that. So it was interesting, like we never said, oh, the defending team had to stay in the base, but having the medics need to be protected so much. So you'd have guys that were literally BB shields for the medic. Now they couldn't just like auto tap you in. There was like a kind of a self rule, like timer. Like you couldn't just stand there and be tapped in like over and over and over again and be like a juggernaut. So there was a bit of a timer involved on cooldown on your respawn. It's like you couldn't get respawned twice in a row in like a split second. You had to like 10, 20, 30 seconds, right? So you'd have guys that would literally be like a flying V shield for these Mad Medics toward the end of the game. They would just get chewed up as the medic's trying to get people up and running, like somebody special, right? You'd have people's guns went down, so now you become like, well, my gun's broken, so I'm going to be the shield for the Mad Medic, right? And like you're the meat shield just running in. It was a fun game style. It was a great way to do it, attack and defend, and then we would judge that based on your time. Fastest team to clear would win. So there's your competitive, right? If you want to make it semi-competitive or some sort of scoring system. And then Milsim Ops, there's a definite scoring system. It's team-based, but at the end of the Milsim Op, you always know what team won, how you get your points. So there is competitive airsoft. What do I recommend, Darren, for intermediate rifles? Krytac. Okay. Intermediate's a tough band to be in because if you want to move to like get out of like cheaper plastic stuff like your baselines, a lot of companies are offering intermediate. Like you look at like Lancer, you look at like G&G, you look at like let's just take those two. They have entry level and they have pretty solid intermediates, and knocking on the door of like I wouldn't get to all the way, but close like with feature set, like high intermediate. And they're priced right. They're priced pretty effectively. If you want to get to premium, what I would recommend doing if you're looking at intermediate, look at brands like Krytac, VFC, things like that, KWA, and just jump into one of those if you can. Spend a little bit more, and then you're already at high end at that point, and then you can start building those out as you want later. That's my recommendation. Like if you're so close, because intermediate and high end, like unless you get to licensed, you're almost there. But look at some of those brands also, like Arcturus and Classic Army. They have some really good offerings externally. Some of the internals are still in, like Classic Army is pretty solid, but like Arcturus, the last review I did, they were pretty darn good. They were like 8 out of 10 good for like killer price. So like it was almost like it was hard not to recommend at, if I'm just looking at across the whole board, like they're pretty solid. Like the externals were darn good and their internals still need a little bit of love, but you can always upgrade those things, right? So definitely that. Whatever happened to the Miracle Barrel? Funny thing is, I know the guy that invented that. He's here. There was talk about maybe even bringing it back, but it's around. It's still, the guy's still around. He's still in Airsoft, still an engineer, still a designer. Yep, I know him personally. He's here, and I don't want to give away who he's working for, but he's working for a company right now. Let's see. Hop Airsoft, about role playing at Airsoft events like Swamp Sniper. Oh my God, Swamp Sniper puts on some killer LARPing games. I forgot about him. Oh my gosh, man. His stuff is, I love that guy, man. Chris is such a good dude. So competitive circuit. Yeah, that's kind of the Kenny was that competitive Airsoft. It was like Competitive Airsoft Association or something. ACA, Airsoft Competitive. I don't know. I forget the name of it. Somebody, I have to Google this. What is a Miracle Barrel? All right. So this was this this barrel. It was kind of, it was wide bore, and it was a wider bore barrel. It released, I did a couple of videos. Actually, just go on the channel and Google Miracle Barrel. I did 2 videos, like the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. It has at the very back where your hop up goes over and mates to it, and you have the hole cut out. There's actually a second inset piece that was specially designed to basically put your BB in the right position and set it for a good air seal and get it centered in the barrel. It's like a secondary inset piece, and it had like a wider hole already cut, which is kind of like a modern thing these days. They had a lot of features, forward thinking on this barrel, and nobody's really done it because it's expensive to make. It's like a 2-part, like a second inset piece of a different material that sat in to hold that BB in the right spot as soon as it got pushed in before it went out the barrel and got fired. And it did. I used it in a John Liu event at the abandoned water park on the way, like in California, on the way between California or LA and Las Vegas. And dude, I put it in a Krytac LVOA, and that's the only upgrade I did to the Krytac LVOA, and it was reaching out and touching people. Jet did a couple of videos on the Miracle Barrel too, and he got some crazy long shots as well. A lot of people were getting them, but it's a long time ago when that was out. They haven't made Miracle Barrels in like 7, 8, 9 years maybe, or longer. So, well, that's about it, guys. We're right at 11. I gotta bounce. I gotta go. I would love to stay and chat longer. Thank you all. If you haven't subbed, by the way, hit the sub button. I'd love to have you as a sub, but more importantly, just hit the notification bell. That way you know when I go live. Next week, it will be a day early. So sorry for everybody. It'll be, instead of Wednesday-ish, it's going to be Tuesday, same exact time, 9 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. My God, it's already, my brain shot. And then 1:30 in the morning it'll be on Wednesday morning in the UK GMT, but this is on Tuesday next week. We'll go back to Wednesdays normally, just Wednesday's booked for me, and I don't want to skip a week on this. So we'll have one day earlier, and we'll get that done. So thank you all, everybody. Got a ton of people in chat. Love it. Love having you all here. So many questions I missed. So I will be going back through chat. By the way, if you want your question, answered, put it in the comments below this video, or wait till I post the video on Monday with the questions there, and I'll put them in as well. Be persistent. Like, come back, join us. I'll be answering everybody's question. I want to, like, next week I'll be on longer, so we'll have more time to chat, and I'll get everybody's questions done because there's really, really good ones here. So, and I'll Google some of that competitive airsoft to see if I can find some old videos about that, because it was kind of a cool system. Maybe it'd be worth bringing back. Anyway, guys, thanks a bunch for joining the stream. Don't forget to sub, hit the like button. It helps with that algorithm trash that YouTube does. And if you want patches, patchfiend.com. See you guys next week.